married another wife, whose name was Keturah. She gave birth to Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. Dedan's descendants were the Asherites, Letushites, and Leomites. Midian's sons were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. These were all descendants of Abraham through Keturah. Abraham gave everything he owned to his son Isaac. But before he died, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them off to a land in the east, away from Isaac. Abraham lived for 175 years, and he died at a ripe old age, having lived a long and satisfying life. He breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite. This is the account of the family of Ishmael, the son of Abraham through Hagar, Sarah's Egyptian servant. Here is a list, by their names and clans, of Ishmael's descendants. The oldest was Nebaioth, followed by Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These 12 sons of Ishmael became the founders of 12 tribes named after them, listed according to the places they settled and camped. Ishmael lived for 137 years. Then he breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death. This is the account of the family of Isaac, the son of Abraham. When Isaac was 40 years old, he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Paddan Aram and the sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was unable to have children. The Lord answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins. But the two children struggled with each other in her womb. So she went to ask the Lord about it. "Why is this happening to me?" she asked. And the Lord told her, "The sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and your older son will serve your younger son." And when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she did indeed have twins. The first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat. So they named him Esau. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. As the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsman, but Jacob had a quiet temperament, preferring to stay at home. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau arrived home from the wilderness exhausted and hungry. Esau said to Jacob, "I'm starved. Give me some of that red stew." This is how Esau got his other name, Edom, which means red. "All right," Jacob replied, "but trade me your rights as the firstborn son." "Look, I'm dying of starvation," said Esau. "What good is my birthright to me now?" But Jacob said, "First you must swear that your birthright is mine." So Esau swore an oath, thereby selling all his rights as the firstborn to his brother Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentil stew. Esau ate the meal, then got up and left. He showed contempt for his rights as the firstborn.
Welcome to a deep dive into Genesis 25. It's a chapter that's got it all: family drama, destiny, and even some interesting food choices, to say the least.
You said it. We're talking about a bowl of stew with some serious historical implications. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's set the scene a bit.
Right, because we're jumping in after the death of Abraham, and he's a pretty major figure in this whole story,
Absolutely.
right?
Understanding his family is really key here. Genesis 25, right off the bat, it kind of lays out this family tree, tracing Abraham's descendants through Keturah, his wife, and, of course, his son Ishmael.
It does feel a bit like a list at first glance, I'll be honest. What makes all this genealogy so
Think of it
important?
like this. It's the setup for this generations-long drama that unfolds. The text, it names specific people and places, and that's because they're going to pop up again later. So it's not just, oh, here's who's related to who. It's setting the stage for alliances, future conflicts, even the formation of entire nations.
Hmm. Those seemingly little details are actually really
Oh,
significant then.
absolutely.
And speaking of conflict, it sounds like family reunions in this world were a little tense,
You
to say the
think?
least.
The text actually says Ishmael's descendants lived in open hostility towards their relatives. So this isn't just like a little sibling rivalry. This is setting the stage for, well, centuries of tension and conflict, and it has a big impact later on.
Wow, so family dynamics were complicated even way back then. But while Abraham had other kids, the story really starts to hone in on Isaac, his son, with Sarah
And this
at
is where
this
things
point.
really get interesting. We find out that Isaac marries Rebekah, but there's a problem. She can't have children. And, today we might think, okay, that's hard. But in this time period, in this culture, it was a massive deal.
Right, because we see Isaac literally pleading with God for Rebekah to have children. It really highlights how important having heirs
Oh,
was back then.
100%. This wasn't just about like continuing your family name or anything like that. This was about inheritance, social standing. It was about being seen as having God's blessing. Having children, especially sons, was super important.
Okay, so after all that, imagine Rebekah's surprise when she gets
It's
pregnant,
not
but
exactly a smooth pregnancy, let's just say that.
oh
Remember how
no.
we were talking about the importance of sons? Becca's
Yeah.
having twins? And if that's not enough, they're described as actually struggling with each other inside the womb.
Oh wow. It's like their rivalry was, I don't know, destined from the very
Exactly.
beginning. And then to add even more drama to the
Yeah.
situation, God reveals something incredible to
Right. He
Rebekah.
tells her these two boys, they're not just going to be brothers, they're going to be the fathers of two nations. And not just two nations that exist, like, alongside each other, two nations that are going to be locked in conflict. And as if that wasn't enough, God says that the older son, he's going to end up serving the younger.
Whoa. Talk about foreshadowing. You just know this
Mhm.
isn't going to end well. So the twins are born.
Yeah.
What are they
Right from
like?
the get-go, their differences, they're super obvious. Esau, the firstborn, he's covered in hair, he's strong, a real hunter. Jacob, though, he's described as more of a homebody into the domestic life. It's almost like their physical descriptions are hinting at the paths they're going to take in life.
It's amazing how these ancient stories, they packed so much meaning into every little detail. Speaking of details, even their names are significant
Totally.
here, right?
Esau's name actually sounds like the Hebrew word for hairy, which of course connects to how he looks when he's born, but it also kind of foreshadows his impulsive nature, as we'll see. And then there's Jacob. His name means he grasps the heel, which, okay, might seem kind of random now, but trust me, it takes on a whole other meaning after we see what happens next.
Okay, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. This sounds like a turning point in the story. So we've got these twin brothers, Esau the hunter, and Jacob who's more of a homebody. Where does this whole bowl of stew thing come in?
Okay, picture this. Esau, he's coming back from a long day of hunting, right? He's exhausted and he is starving. And meanwhile, back at home, Jacob's cooking up a pot of lentil stew.
I mean, that just sounds like another day for them. What's so important about this?
It's all in the timing. What seems like just an ordinary day becomes this pivotal moment for them, and it has a huge impact on how their lives turn
All
out.
right, you've got me curious. What happens next? Does this stew smell that amazing?
Well, remember what we were saying about how important that birthright was?
Yeah.
So Esau, he walks in, desperate for food, and Jacob, well, Jacob's always been a bit clever. He sees an opportunity. He offers Esau a bowl of that stew if he'll trade him his birthright for it.
He's kidding, right? He wants to trade his birthright, this hugely important thing, for some stew. Okay, I know I get hungry, but that's a terrible deal.
It does seem that way to us, sure. But remember, the birthright, it wasn't just about the money and inheritance. It was about their standing in society, about leadership within the family, and it was about carrying on the spiritual legacy that came all the way down from
Oh,
Abraham.
wow. So it's way more than just getting a bigger inheritance. It's about respect, being the leader, being the rightful heir. Man, no pressure or anything.
Exactly. And the text even points out that Esau felt contempt for his birthright. So this wasn't just a hungry guy grabbing a quick bite to eat. This actually tells us something about his values, what he thinks is important, and it's clear he didn't really value what he was giving up at
And
all.
Jacob, it seems like he's thinking way ahead, like he saw the chance to come out on top, even if it meant taking advantage of his brother's weakness.
Yeah, you can really start to see their personalities emerge here. Esau, he's driven by what he needs right this second. He's impulsive, willing to trade something super valuable just to satisfy himself right now. And then there's Jacob, always thinking ahead, thinking about the future. He's willing to be strategic, make some bold moves if it means he can secure his future.
Wow. So Jacob, he gets his stew and a legally binding contract,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, he makes sure of it. He actually makes Esau swear an oath, making it official. So that birthright, it belongs to Jacob now.
That's wild. What seems like, I don't know, a kind of simple conversation between two brothers ends up being this massive turning point in their lives. And like you said earlier, it ends up shaping the destiny of nations.
And that's what's so powerful about these ancient stories. They're showing us that even small, seemingly insignificant moments can have these huge consequences down the line. It makes you think, what are the birthrights, those opportunities or values or relationships that we might be tempted to trade away for just a bowl of stew in our own lives, right?
That's a good question. Are we choosing something that feels good right now over what will bring fulfillment in the long run? Are we being short-sighted like Esau or strategic like Jacob?
Right. And the thing is, this is just the beginning. What happens between Jacob and Esau, it's just one piece of their story. And remember, this isn't just a family argument. These are the ancestors of two nations, and what they do has a ripple effect.
It's like watching a domino effect happen in slow motion. One tiny choice can set off a chain reaction that changes everything.
Exactly. That's what makes studying these ancient texts so relevant even today. They're holding up a mirror to human nature, showing us how prone we are to rivalry, to being ambitious, to struggling for power, you know?
Makes me think about those birthrights we might be tempted to trade away today just to get a quick fix or feel satisfied for a minute.
Right. Are we sacrificing our values, relationships, long-term goals for something that just seems appealing right now? It's something to think about, that's for sure.
Yeah. Genesis 25, it really challenges us to think about those things we value, the choices we make, and how those choices have an impact, not just on us, but on the people around us, even generations later.
It's this powerful reminder that our actions, they don't happen in a vacuum, you know? There are always consequences, and sometimes those consequences, they ripple outward farther than we can even imagine.
So we left things a little up in the air last time. Jacob, our, let's call him ambitious chef, managed to snag that birthright from Esau in exchange for a pretty simple meal. I'd say he's got a knack for deal-making.
Definitely makes you think twice about the choices we make, you know? Especially when we're feeling impatient or pressured. Esau's hunger, I mean, it led him to a decision
And
he
those long-term
probably ended up
consequences you were talking
regretting.
about, I have a feeling this isn't the end of the story.
Oh, not by a long shot. This whole thing with Jacob and Esau, it's just one chapter in a very long and messy relationship. And remember, this isn't just some family squabble, right? We're talking about the forefathers of two nations here.
It's
Their
like watching a
choices,
domino
they echo
effect,
through
but
history.
in super slow motion. One choice, one seemingly small thing can set off this chain reaction that changes everything.
And that's what's so amazing about these stories. They're still relevant, even today. They hold up this mirror to human nature, showing us how drawn we are to rivalry, ambition, the struggle
Really
for
makes
power.
you think,
It's timeless,
what are the
really.
birthrights that we might be tempted to trade away today, just for some quick fix, some fleeting moment of satisfaction?
Right. It's easy to lose sight of what really matters
Exactly.
when you're focused
Genesis
on the here
25,
and now.
it's a challenge for us, I think. It makes us examine the things we truly value, the choices we make, and how those choices, they don't just affect us. They affect the people around us, and maybe even generations to come. It's a lot to think about.
It is. It's this powerful reminder that our actions, they have an impact. We don't exist in a bubble. There are always consequences. And sometimes those consequences, they ripple
Well
outward
said.
further than we can
As we
even
wrap up
imagine.
our deep dive into Genesis 25, it's clear that this chapter, it's so much more than just a family drama. It's a story about ambition, about consequence, about the enduring power of family and the weight of legacy. It's really incredible.
It really is. It reminds us to really think about the choices we make, to cherish the things that truly matter, and to remember even the smallest
said
actions
it
can
better
leave a
myself.
mark on the world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Genesis 25. Until next time. Keep exploring and keep those brainwaves buzzing.